It's harvest time in Norfolk, and it's a beautiful August day here at Snetterton as we prepare for round 13 of the Green Flag MSA British Touring Car Championship. The season's two best qualifiers are together once again here as James Thompson lines up on pole position for the 6th time and Matt Neal makes his 11th front row start. Another Honda is third, the light car of Tom Chilton, ahead of the fastest MG of Colin Turkington. Paul O'Neill was fastest in free practice but 5th in qualifying, just pipping Hughes in the MG. Championship leader Ivan Muller 7th, ahead of Alan Morrison. Carl Breeze is fastest independent in the GA Motorsport Astra, ahead of rival James Kay in the Synchro Motorsport Honda. David Leslie's Proton has benefited from revised dampers. Anthony Reid's car carries maximum ballast, and Rob Collard is hoping to extend his points lead in the independence class, while Dan Eves will be out to stop him. Gareth Howell's return sees him 17th, Phil Bennett is 18th in the Proton, while Danny Buxton and Paul Wallace round out the 18 Tourers, the highest number of cars since new rules came in for 2001. Luke Hines has taken his 6th pole in production class this year, but the returning Mark Fullerlove is an excellent 2nd in class. Michael Bentwood is 3rd, then Tom Boardman, who's won 3 races this year. Alan Blenko starts 5th with Jim Edwards next, now in a Peugeot 307. Jay Wheels making his debut, and then it's Jason Hughes in his 2nd event in the Kart World Nissan Primera. At the back, Richard Marsh has taken over Jim Edwards' consistent Team Varta Honda Accord. So there we go, all set to race here at Snetterton. The red lights change to green and away we go. And the front row gets underway and it's a good start from Matt Neal. Oh, and there's an accident behind them. Right behind them, Warren Hughes has run into Colin Turkington. Tom Chilton's in 5 cars, trying to avoid it all. Michael Bentwood's in the middle of that. And we've got somebody else off. That looks like Carl Breeze. And Tim, we've got cars just about everywhere there.
Well, it's 10 years since we had the last major pile-up on the start line here, caused by the same thing, this tightly packed grid, and it looked like Warren Hughes trying to squeeze between the row in front.
Well, look at the cars. Tom Chilton there with damage. Michael Bentwood, a very severely damaged front end, and David Leslie has also been hit in the Proton. Looks as though his race is run as well. Very disappointing indeed for a number of drivers. Let's see from on board Warren Hughes.
Hughes makes a good start, bit of wheel spin from Chilton Turkington. He goes in between and it just turns the cars into each other. That's a disaster for MG.
Well, Warren Hughes managed to continue. Let's take another look. Now, this was with Michael Bentwood in the BMW. Now, he made a brilliant start. Look at this, getting past a load of the touring cars.
Well, he's made a great start, the rear-wheel drive, but it's just driven him straight into trouble. He collects the back of Turkington's car and then gets hit himself. That's big damage.
Take another look again, coming into the middle there. That was Warren Hughes. The contact's made. The Turkington and Chilton cars make contact with one another, and it all goes wrong from here. Hughes manages to carry on, but watch out from behind. Everybody's trying to get out of the way, bunching over to the left-hand side. Here comes Bentwood in the BMW, bang! And that does the damage to the front of the BMW and to the back of the MG. Very disappointing indeed for the man who lies 2nd in the production class, Michael Bentwood. And that BMW, I'm not sure if it's going to be back out. Matt Neal leads as they come across the line. Safety car out though. Alan Morrison up into 2nd there. He got ahead of James Thompson at the start of the race. So it was a good start for the Hondas. James Thompson not getting away quite so well from the front row of the grid, but great disappointment here for Michael Bentwood.
Michael, what happened there?
Got probably the best start of the year, and I saw an MG spinning. I think it was Turkington. He said it was spinning to the middle, so or spinning to the right. So I went left to avoid him, and he suddenly speared left, and that was it. I had nowhere to go, and then somebody crunched me in the rear. So you know, I can't believe it. I made an awesome start, easily in the lead, unbelievable traction in the dry, and well, I just can't believe it. I don't think I'm here. You know, the car's wrecked. I don't think we'll be out for the next race. In fact, I know we won't be out for the next race, but maybe for next round at Brands Hatch. So.
Well, there's a lot of disappointed drivers and teams down there in the pits after that. Alan Blenko's come in for a quick check-up as well. He may be able to get back out again. The car actually looks all right, but Turkington's car in particular looked very badly damaged.
Yeah, huge damage to the left rear of that car, and could quite possibly have damaged the pickup points, but great restart now. Let's go with Honda at the front.
Yeah, it's Matt Neal who leads. He got away very cleanly indeed, and Alan Morrison going with him. So we've got the 2 Hondas, 1st and 2nd. James Thompson in 3rd place. Then it's Paul O'Neill and Ivan Muller. Remember, of course, James Thompson trying to close up the points gap to Ivan Muller in the overall championship. And a change between the 2 MGs. Warren Hughes was just being passed in the background there by his teammate Anthony Reid, and actually it looks to me all big weave from Hughes. He's got problems with that car.
He's got a puncture on the right front wheel, and you're probably thinking, why on earth didn't he stop under the safety car? But he probably didn't realise going around at slow racing speed until he speeded up, and then he's got the puncture. So disaster for him.
Disappointment for GA as well. There's Carl Breeze out of the car. That car got a hefty whack as a result of that start line shunt, so he's out of it too. But look at this battle for second. James Thompson now attacking Alan Morrison. They come down to the tightest corner on this Snetterton circuit, hop over the curbs and try and accelerate cleanly out of here. And Thompson really putting the pressure on the Honda.
The Vauxhall very good across those curbs. It keeps the traction and keeps going. Oh, and one of the 307s, I think that's Jim Edwards having his debut in the new 307, obviously getting used to the handling characteristics. But the Vauxhall very good across the curbs, the Honda very quick down the straights and round the fast corners.
Now we've got a battle going on slightly further back here. Rob Collard leading in the Independence Championship at the moment, but not leading in the race for the moment. It's Phil Bennett right behind him, and then Danny Buxton in the Peugeot. The leaders come through the S's. James Thompson under a bit of pressure here from his own teammate Paul O'Neill, and look, O'Neill's looking hungry for the chance to get through. Thompson gets a bit crossed up going through into the bomb hole, and here comes Paul O'Neill. He's got alongside his teammate, and O'Neill comes up into third place. That was a good move.
That was great opportunist driving. Paul O'Neill actually set the fastest ever lap time in free practice for a touring car, and he looks like he means business this race.
Yeah, really attacking well there over James Thompson. Remember, Thompson carrying 30 kilos of ballast, and Paul O'Neill, the car a little lighter, he's managed to take 9 kilos out as a result of his last finish at Croft, and now he's on the charge, and he's chasing after those two Hondas, but they're looking strong out front at the moment with Matt Neal leading. Look, the blue car there, James Kay leading in the Independence class, then Anthony Reid comes through, Gareth Howell going well in his first outing for Team Dynamics, and in the Peugeot of Danny Buxton still under pressure from Phil Bennett. Into the pits has come Tom Boardman, and that car got a whack as well in that start line shunt, so I think it's basically all become a little bit too much for it now, as Phil Bennett's bonnet is flapping in the wind there.
Well, that's incredibly dangerous. I hope his pit team call him in, because if that bonnet flips up at 140 miles an hour, not only is it going to smash the windscreen, but it's going to potentially put Phil in a lot of danger.
So here we are back with the race leaders, and it is Matt Neal, who's already won 3 races, and he's coming into the pits. So he's one of the first to make their pit stops here, and coming in behind him as well is the Frenchman Yvan Muller, the championship leader. So this is a crucial stop for both the Honda and Vauxhall crews. Let's see first of all what happens to Matt Neal. Do they get a good clean stop? A brand new tyre going on this side. Everything looks to be pretty good, and away goes Matt Neal. Yvan Muller's car still up on the jack at the moment. Now it's dropped, and that looked like a fairly even stop between the two teams.
Yes, I think by the time they get back out, that'll be even Stevens between the two teams. Good first pit stop for both.
So Matt Neal rejoins. We'll have to see what happens. And Phil Bennett's car, look at that, the amount of tape they're sticking that bonnet down with. Well, it hasn't flicked up and broken the windscreen yet, so hopefully he'll be okay. Now, a moment ago, look at this. That was Phil Bennett following Rob Collard into the pits, and Collard took out the speed limit sign. Well, I hope he doesn't get a penalty for that.
Well, everyone tries to get into pit lane as fast as they can, and that pit board is the last point at which they can slow down.
Alan Morrison and Paul O'Neill stopping at the same time, and again the same situation. Morrison comes out just ahead, and look, as they come back out again, that's not Matt Neal in front, Matt Neal's just behind them. Tom Chilton that was coming through, he's not yet stopped. So these two have both gained on Matt Neal. He went in the lead, remember. Oh, problems there, I'm afraid, for Danny Buxton. Looks as though it's a mechanical issue that's put him out, as in comes James Thompson.
Yeah, this will be a critical pit stop. Let's see how the VX Racing team go to work.
So these boys normally very rapid. It looks good. 5.72 seconds. Away he goes. Now, he was in third before all the pit stops were being made, remember. But Matt Neal has dropped down behind Alan Morrison. We're on board with Matt Neal. Matt Neal, and there's Thompson comes out right in front of him. Now, can Matt Neal get back at him?
Well, how close was that on the exit of the pit lane and into riches for the first time? But James Thompson on slightly colder tyres. Matt's really only got this one chance to get past him at the end of the straight here.
Well, is he going to be able to use the most of those warmed-up tyres? But he doesn't look really that close enough, does he? As we head down the Revett Straight, up to about 140 miles an hour as they head down towards the bridge and then get onto the brakes with a left and right flick. And it's Alan Morrison that leads this group. Paul O'Neill, James Thompson, Matt Neal attacking, but not really close enough to have a go. And Yvan Muller then a little further behind. Oh, onto the dirt goes Matt Neal in his attempts.
Well, he got very close under braking to Thompson, but then he's blown it. Now Thompson's away clear.
Battle for third place in the production class here, and this is Alan Blenko battling away at the moment, so with Jim Edwards in the Peugeot 307. The battle for the leads between Luke Hines and Mark Fullerlove. Fullerlove making his return to the championship this weekend, remember, in the Tech Speed Peugeot 306. Now, in the pits, it is Gareth Howell for Team Dynamics, and they service the car, get it back out. He was leading briefly, and there's James Kay, leader in the independent class, coming under attack from a similar car. It's another Honda, but of course it's the works Honda of Tom Chilton.
Yes, I should think James Kay will probably concede here to Tom Chilton. James is leading the independence class. He doesn't want to upset Honda. He needs all the help he can get from them, but doing a great job and with a comfortable lead in the independence. Yes, Tom Chilton goes through safely.
That's for 7th position overall then, but James Kay still leads in the Hilton Independence class, and he'll be keen not to make a mistake here with Chilton and just look for a decent finish himself. Up front then, it is Alan Morrison who leads. All the pit stops have been made, and it's Morrison in front for Honda. Remember, he ran second at the start of the race behind his teammate Matt Neal, but Matt Neal's struggling a little bit. He's lost out in the pit stops. He's back down in 4th place, and it's the 2 Vauxhalls behind Alan Morrison that are applying the pressure, and it's Paul O'Neill that's the fastest of the Vauxhalls. Not always the case, but here at Snetterton he looks fantastic.
He really does. You can see the cars using all the width of the road and more, and that's a feature here at Snetterton, where the cars often run off the track and drag dirt back on with them.
Ivan Muller's got past Matt Neal. Look at this. So Muller's on a bit of a charge, and Matt Neal definitely struggling a touch in this second segment of this race. Top 3 come through, and then it's the battle for 4th. Muller now just ahead of Matt Neal. I wonder if Neal's going to be able to attack. There's a lot of dirt down there. Looks like somebody's run a bit wide coming out of the S's. Let's take a look. Oh, Morrison's been passed by Paul O'Neill. Morrison's back down in 2nd, and now James Thompson's on the charge here, and Thompson's going past. Well, that all looked too easy. Surely Morrison must have some sort of problem.
I suspect Morrison went off the track on the exit of the S's, and that's what brought all the dirt on. Listen to his engine. He's on 3 cylinders. Well, he's either ingested a load of dirt or it's done something to the ignition timing, but he's not going to go much further.
And that means that Paul O'Neill now leads this race. There's Alan Morrison. Yeah, it sounds terrible. So that car is not going to win this race, that's for sure. I don't even know if it's going to finish the race. And there is Michael of the Honda team, and he is not happy at all. Poor Alan Morrison. Oh, it has pulled off. He's not won a race yet this year, and yet this race looked to be his. Pretty much sewn up, but now it's Paul O'Neill, and in fact he's got his own teammate James Thompson to worry about.
Well, we have, and as we start the last lap, we can't forget, can we, that race at Brands Hatch where Paul O'Neill lost it on the last bend. Is it the same thing going to happen again? He's defending, and Thompson's got close.
He has got very close. He's going to have a little attack, perhaps down towards the bomb. They turn into the quick right-hander. Oh, Thompson gets sideways. That will have cost him some time. Now it's the quick right-hander at Corham, about 100 miles an hour through here, and Paul O'Neill's just got to keep his head, keep it all under control, not make a mistake. The last corner coming up. It's the last corner at Brands Hatch where it went wrong for him when Matt Neal hit him, but there's no one close to him, and Paul O'Neill's going to take his 2nd ever touring car win, his 1st of 2003, and he's fought off his experienced teammates to do it. Paul O'Neill wins at Snetterton, and it's a 1-2-3 for Vauxhall, with Thompson 2nd and Ivan Muller in 3rd, and the boys are well pleased.
Great drive by Paul O'Neill. Thompson had a chance, but had a big slide on the dust at the bomb hole, and that was all that Paul O'Neill needed to safely come home.
James Kay comes through to win in the Hilton Independence Cup, and that's a good victory for the Honda driver. But Paul O'Neill wins the race outright, and he will be over the moon about that. He's always so emotional about his racing. Coming through to win in the production class, it is Luke Hines. And, well, Honda have gained something from this race because they've got the win in the production class as Luke Hines comes through to take the checkered flag. A good performance from him, but the win overall goes to Paul O'Neill, making it a 1-2-3 for Vauxhall. Paul O'Neill's win, in fact, is the 9th of the season for Vauxhall. It's the 3rd time this year that the Works Vauxhall drivers have taken ownership of the podium. Matt Neal lost time on circuit around the pit stop zone, but Anthony Reid scored 6 points despite starting 12th. James Kay won the independence class, and Luke Hines won for the 5th time in production, despite the early lead for Mark Fullerlove. Thanks, Vicky. Well, this is how they line up for the 14th round of the Green Flag MSA British Touring Car Championship, with Paul O'Neill on pole for the first time in his touring car career, but carrying lots of ballast. Thompson starts 2nd, Muller is 3rd, then Matt Neal leads the Vauxhall opposition, with Croft winner Anthony Reid in 5th, and Tom Chilton in 6th. The Battle of the Independents on row 4 as James Kay and Rob Collard line up together. Then it's the Proton of Bennett, while Gareth Howell's car's been pushed off the grid. Alan Morrison's luck has to change soon. He starts 11th with the Team Halford's car of Danny Buxton 12th. Warren Hughes has been told off after the race 1 shunt and starts 13th. Carl Breeze is 14th. Then the rebuilt car of Colin Turkington on row 8 with David Leslie as next door neighbour. Dan Eves and Paul Wallace bring up the rear of the touring car grid, leaving Luke Hines to make the most of his pole position in the production class. Michael Bentwood's car was unrepairable from the start line shunt in race 1, so Hines has every opportunity to extend his lead. Fullerlove is second in class, then Blenko third. Jim Edwards starts from the pit lane. Jason Hughes and Tom Boardman line up next. Bentwood not making it onto the grid, I'm afraid. Jay Wheels towards the back. He had a gearbox problem earlier, as did Richard Marsh in the Honda Accord. Well, we saw a dramatic first race. Let's see what's going to happen this time around. Another 25 laps to go here at Snetterton. Oh, Paul O'Neill creeping a little bit as the lights change there. And O'Neill gets away well, but look at Matt Neal in the Honda on the outside here. He's blasted past James Thompson, and he's going on the attack as they come up towards Riches, the first corner. Will he sweep all the way around the outside of Paul O'Neill? O'Neill bobbles over the curb slightly through the corner. They're still side by side as they head down towards an even tighter right-hander at Sear. Oh, somebody spun in the background. That's Jim Edwards and Jason Hughes and Jay Wheels rejoining the track. Well, what a battle we've got going up front, Tim, because Matt Neal made a great getaway.
No question, Matt Neal gets the award for the fastest start of this year, and he and James Thompson and Paul O'Neill all gave each other racing room, which was really good. But down into the S's for the first time, it's Matt Neal on the inside, Paul O'Neill on the outside. Paul O'Neill have the right-hand line for the tight right-hander, but look at Muller trying to get up the inside of Neal.
Yeah, he's trying to take second place away side by side. Oh, they all go to the bomb hole together, almost all three together there in echelon, turning into the right-hander, and they all emerge safely, and it's still O'Neill from Matt Neal and Ivan Muller getting squeezed out.
We've got a drive-through penalty for a jump start. Pit at the end of this lap. Push all the way through the end, pit, and then drive through.
Well, that's the team talking to Paul O'Neill.
Copy that, but I'm for comment this lap. That was not a jump start. Yeah, don't worry about it, mate. Just creep in a bit on the start. All you've got to do is come in, drive through the pit lane on the speed limiter and go straight back out.
Oh, that's a great disappointment for Paul O'Neill. Let's take another look at it, Tim.
The car is definitely rolling at the start. He hasn't really done the clutch, but it is moving, and the rules say the car must be stationary, so I'm afraid it's his fault. He'll have to take his penalty like a man.
So disappointment for the man who won earlier on today. He's currently there in third place. Matt Neal is the race leader, James Thompson in second, Paul O'Neill currently in third, but we're expecting him to come into the pits this time. Look at this battling that's going on behind. Phil Bennett trying to get past Alan Morrison, and just ahead, there's Rob Collard all over the back of Ivan Muller. Collard leading the independence class, and once again, as we've seen before this year, attacking the works cars as Paul O'Neill obeys the signal to come through.
Well, poor Ivan Muller, from challenging Matt Neal for second place into the bomb hole on the first lap, he's found himself shunted all the way down. That was a crucial move in the race, Matt Neal holding that second place.
Well, Rob Collard hasn't managed to keep the challenge on Ivan Muller, and right behind him now, Phil Bennett's coming under pressure from Alan Morrison. We're on board with Phil Bennett in the Proton. It's going better, the Proton, but he's under attack. Alan Morrison's just to our right here, and he's going to try and outbrake us as we go down into the left-hander at the S's. Bennett tied over to the left, and there goes Morrison.
That was a battle of who's the late breaker, and it was Morrison on the outside, giving him the right-hand line, but look at this damage further back.
Yeah, that was Tom Chilton hitting Colin Turkington. We're riding with Turkington, who's now been passed by Chilton, Hughes, and by David Leslie, all in one move virtually there. So it's a physical encounter, this, not only near the front, but further down the order as well. And everybody jostling for position. There is that group. Chilton ahead of the two MGs. There's David Leslie in the Proton, just staying ahead of Colin Turkington, who's got the two Peugeot 307s, the two Team Halfords cars right behind him. And they're going to go on the attack now as they come over the line. Turkington really being compromised now. Danny's gone to his outside. That's Danny Buxton we're looking at, coming up towards Riches, who will be later on the brakes. Turkington brakes late. Oh, and Danny has lost it. Oh, and Buxton hits him in avoidance, trying to go round the outside. Buxton's in the field.
Oh, what disaster for Team Halfords. I mean, no fault there of Danny Buxton. He was merely trying to avoid his totally sideways teammate. But look at the damage going in the cornfields done.
Yeah, it's ripped off the front bumper, the whole front end of the car. Look at it, bouncing around, and poor Danny Buxton, he's not having a good outing at all this weekend. Jason Hughes has had problems with that car this weekend. He's back in the pits as well. But let's get on with the battle up front. It's still Matt Neal from James Thompson, Anthony Reid, Ivan Muller, and then Rob Collard. The fastest lap's been set by Alan Morrison. who's now at the back of this little group of cars in his Honda Civic Type R, the man who led earlier on and had problems with the car, of course, dropped out of the first race when he was leading. Battle in the production class between Tom Boardman and Luke Hines, and then Mark Fullerlove here in third, but he's got a problem. He's waving Alan Blenko through.
Oh, that's a great shame. Mark Fullerlove's make a brilliant return to this championship in this old Peugeot 306, but that looks like terminal engine failure.
Great disappointment then. He pulls off onto the grass and Muller's in trouble. Ivan Muller pulling over to one side and allowing people to go past, and Ivan Muller, the championship leader, is in trouble. Well, this is huge story because James Thompson could really close the gap up now in the overall championship.
Thompson will take the lead in the championship if they finish as they are. This is Muller's first mechanical retirement of the year. This is disaster for him. He's going to see Thompson take the lead in the championship.
Well, how about that? Ivan Muller chasing this title for year after year. We've still got some time to go, but the gremlins hitting him here at Snetterton, there's no doubt about it. The rest of the field comes through. It's still Matt Neal in charge of this race. There's Mark Fullerlove walking away from his stricken Peugeot. Anthony Reid running well, less heavy the car this time than it was in the first race after winning last time out at Croft. It had lots of ballast. Now it's a little lighter and the car's going well, but this man's also going quickly. Alan Morrison in the Honda.
Morrison, of course, with that engine failure in the first race, is absolutely flying in this race. He and Reid really the movers in this race, as you say, mainly due to the lack of ballast.
Well, Reid chooses this moment to come into the pits. Lights ablaze. We're going into dusk here at Snetterton, and the shadow's getting longer and longer as he heads down into the pit lane and the MG crew go to work. Now, last time out at Croft, of course, it was a wonderful win for Anthony Reid. Doesn't look like he's going to win this time, but a podium finish is certainly possible, and he gets away, but it's a long stop. It's nearly 9 seconds.
He wasn't happy. He was gesticulating in the car. You could see the onboard dash saying he was ready in first gear, but the wheel change taking slightly too long.
Now, further back, Warren Hughes has got his teammate Colin Turkington right behind him again. Remember, we saw Hughes get past Turkington a little while ago. Now Turkington's on the attack, trying to get down the inside of his teammate. Now through the bomb hole up towards Coram, and he's still having a go. He's still up the inside, side by side, almost contact, but Turkington, the 21-year-old, squeezes past his more experienced teammate.
Well, methinks that Turkington hasn't quite forgiven his teammate Warren Hughes for what happened in the first race, judging by the body language there. He was coming fast, come what may.
Warren Hughes comes into the pits now, and so does Alan Morrison. So let's see how the Honda crew get on and how they compare the two crews as the MG stops as well. Away goes Alan Morrison. That was a good stop, 7.16. Not the best we've seen, but not bad. 5.76 for MG.
Yeah, better stop for MG this time. They practiced on Anthony Reid, got it right, in fact, with Warren Hughes. But here's the battle for the lead in production, and it's Tom Boardman this time leading. He, of course, didn't finish the first race, so he's slightly lighter. Hines, with an eye on the championship, I think, happy to say in second place.
Yes, of course, his main rival, Michael Bentswood, is not even in this race after the accident damage from earlier. He follows Tom Boardman down into the left-hand. You see how they're breaking through the corner here, and they're trying to get on the power as early as possible on the exit. Now, James Thompson comes into the pits, and of course, he's battling up front at the moment. Oh, what a great stop. 5.12 seconds from the VX Racing crew.
Brilliant stop there, and James will, of course, know that Muller's out of the race. He's only got to finish in second place. He'll take the championship lead.
Well, he was second coming into the pits, but Matt Neal, who he was running second to, hasn't yet been into the pits, so we'll have to wait and see where Matt Neal comes back out. Tom Chilton trying to make up more lost ground. He's certainly proving to be quick here this weekend, Chilton, but he's been out of luck on the opening laps. Of course, the opening lap of the first race, he got clouted in that incident with Warren Hughes coming through from the row behind, and didn't get away particularly well on this second race, but he's picking up the places once again as we go through the race itself.
Yes, of course, Tom Chilton and Colin Turkington, the two young guns who are poised for success at the start of the first race on the second row. How this weekend has changed for them.
So Matt Neal now choosing the moment to come into the pits, and you can see as he comes down the pit lane, he locks up the brakes to get down to the 40 miles an hour speed limit as he heads along pit lane. And of course, will he now come back out ahead of Thompson? We saw a very rapid stop from James Thompson, who had been running second to Matt Neal. Let's see whether Honda can match that. Very nearly, 5.8 seconds, but where is Thompson? Coming up the straight now, here comes Matt Neal on the left of the picture, still going slowly on the speed limit. There's Thompson, Matt Neal's going to get out ahead, but Thompson's the one who's got pace and who's got warm tyres.
Yes, we see this so often. Great stop by Honda that time to get Matt Neal out front. It is a very hot day, so of course the tyres never getting too cool here, but we all know this is the main opportunities to strike when the car is first coming out of the pit stops. But Matt's got a good run onto the back straight.
Down the Revit straight, Matt Neal with about a car's length advantage over James Thompson. Is Thompson going to take a big risk here and go for the lead when he's in such a strong position anyway? As Ivan Muller has retired from this race, he may not be prepared to take too many risks. He slots in behind Matt Neal again. Matt Neal holds on to the lead for the moment. James Thompson follows him in second.
Yeah, Matt's done enough now to just stay in the lead. He's got the tyres up to temperature. He took a slightly defensive line into the S's, but that's good enough.
Rear bumper just dangling slightly from the back of Matt Neal's car. Evidence of earlier bumping and boring, but it's not going to cause too much problem. But Thompson just keeps the pressure on him as they come down towards Russell. And Matt Neal hops over the curbs. These cars so evenly matched. And both these drivers on 3 wins apiece so far this season. But of course, Thompson with a great many more points, as Matt Neal's other results haven't always been quite so strong. Now, look at the background. You can see Alan Morrison running in 3rd place. He's now ahead of Anthony Reid in 4th. Problems there for Richard Marsh in the Honda, but there is Reid in 4th. He had that slow pit stop. He's lost out to Alan Morrison, and now he's under attack for that 4th place from the other Honda of Tom Chilton.
Yeah, Anthony Reid has made a habit this year of getting the best results for MG. He quietly works away. He's a really aggressive racer, but he doesn't give an inch, and he takes a mile. So there's going to be very hard for Tom Chilton to get past.
Yeah, but good racing going on behind him as well. Look, Rob Collard under attack from Colin Turkington. Turkington picking them off one by one at the moment. As Matt Neal and James Thompson, this is still very close between these two, I have to say. Alan Morrison picking his way past the back markers, past the production class cars, and then this battle for 4th, led by Anthony Reid with Tom Chilton, and Colin Turkington has got past Collard now. But Collard's still leading in the independence class, and that's what he'll be concentrating on here. Turkington, oh, Matt Neal's run off the track, but he stays in front. He's gone across the grass down there at the chicane.
Okay, mate, you're coming up to the last lap. You've got 3.7 seconds to Morrison.
James Thompson reporting his engine sounds noisy, and he's losing pace as well. This is the last lap.
Well, let's just take a look back at the mistake from Matt Neal a moment ago. Came in very quick into the Russell chicane, over the grass, bounced over and still managed to stay in front of Thompson. But it sounds like Thompson's the one now in trouble. And as they head down the Revit straight, in fact, Thompson being passed by Alan Morrison. Morrison's nipped through to 2nd. Can Thompson make it to the finish line? Is that car going to last?
Well, has this championship changed or what in this meeting? Muller must be rubbing hands with glee. Thompson is barely able to get around this last lap.
And he's been passed by Anthony Reid and that whole collection of cars following Reid. So suddenly Thompson, who looks so strong to get on terms with Muller, it's not going to happen. But Matt Neal is going to take his 4th win of the season. A great drive from Matt Neal, and he will beat... Oh, hang on, he's going very slowly. He's almost stopping before he's got to the line. Here comes his teammate, Alan Morrison. It's going to be a very close run thing to the line. Oh, and Matt Neal just wins it from his teammate. So Matt Neal had problems there as well. Anthony Reid comes home in 3rd place. James Thompson stopping on circuit. What a dramatic climax.
I got a problem where it was selecting neutral, downshifting. First of all, it started doing it 6th to 5th, so it caught me out a few times into the first corner riches. And then it started coming all over the place, mainly in the lower gears, 4th to 3rd, 3rd to 2nd, so it was getting me into the 2 tight chicanes and the hairpins. So you get neutral and you just lock up your brakes and you carry straight on. So it was, they were saying keep the pedal down, and I was going, hang on a minute, mate, I've got a box full of neutrals here. But besides that, they just tweaked the setup from the first race, and the thing was on the money. It was sweet as a nut. It's the... Alan's proved it. Come through from the back. 1-2 for Honda Racing. Spot on.
Did you back off?
Well, just at the end, maybe when I knew I wasn't going to get them, I just sort of left it off. Just I wanted to bring the car home, so that's the most important thing.
Unfortunately, we had an engine failure. So, to be fair to the lads, they've done a fantastic job from last year, turning it round. You know, from the failures we had last year. So our first one.
So despite his problems, Matt Neal stands high on the top of the podium, and Alan Morrison a superb job from all the way to the back to get a Honda 1-2. Matt Neal then first, then Morrison and Reid, Turkington 4th and then Chilton. Warren Hughes taking an 8th position this time. In the championship, Muller's lead now 163 points. James Thompson still firmly in second with 150. Then Matt Neal moves to third, ahead of Paul O'Neill. Luke Hines still out on top in the Production Drivers' Championship, but Blenko goes to second with 133. VX Racing still out, way ahead with 322 points, ahead of Honda and MG. Vauxhall leads the manufacturers with 393 now, ahead of Honda, MG losing ground just a little. And in the Independence Trophy, Robert Collard leads with 119 points, but it's close.